Dear ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you, Program Committee, because today they have prepared pretty many presentations. So I picked up pretty many presentations dedicated to the development of the Ukrainian market, and that's not an accidental thing, because reason being that probably the market, not only in Ukraine but also in Europe and in the world, really need the right figures that would allow them to do the right business planning, and unfortunately. Today, there is a certain shortage of such figures, and the Internet Association of Ukraine, that is partner of a partner of today's intervention, always, especially in the latest years, paid a lot of attention to an assessment of the Ukrainian internet status, and is now doing their own research, and they order them to a third party, to third parties, and this is what I would like to talk about. What do we measure? We measure internet penetration, and not really ourselves, but for ourselves, that's what a third party is doing for us, and the ratings of websites of they're measuring socio-demographic breakdowns of the Ukrainian internet audience, and also internet advertising in Ukraine. That's what they are analyzing and studying. But before we get down to the data itself, I would like to say a few words about the reasons why there's such a sprawl in figures that was already mentioned today. The figure 33.7, 33.3 statistics, International Committee is some place from the end of Ukraine on penetration. There's pretty much contradiction about the figures and the discrepancies for a number of reasons. In this slide, you can see four main sources on providing data on Ukrainian internet penetration, two professional researchers like GFK, and in mind that was ordered by the association, and the state statistics service, ITU, and all of them are yielding some various figures. GFK said that in Ukraine there's 17.74 million users. In mind talked about 19 plus, state stat 16.9, ITU 33.7%, and it doesn't stack up with the figures that are real. And what's the reason? There are different measurements. In GFK, the data is of the second quarter 2013, and that's regular users, Audi 16. State statistics operate the figures like a number of households. That's not users, that's subscribers, that's households. And in mind, I'm talking about on the second quarter of 2013, that's regular users over 15, and ITU that was mentioned more than once today are taking a figure of I don't know from where, and they say that's regular internet users as of the late 2012. Reasons. Time doesn't matter when you took the measurement. Was that 2012, 2013? But nevertheless, there is such a difference. Anyway, one of the most important reasons, the different bases of respondents for studies, and some count subscribers and some users, and everyone understands the huge difference that the IDs make. And together with that, even state authorities are not worried about what figure is which figure is which, and I'm talking about 6.9 subscribers in Ukraine. They divide by the number of Ukrainian population. I get some sort of preposterous figure, and they call it penetration. Then age. Age is understood. It could be 15 or 16 years old for all, also, or it could be like somebody who can approach a computer starting from 5 years of age. And then regularity. Professional researchers understand by regularity. Regular users is somebody who gets online at least once a month, while others assume that's daily use, and some also assume that's theoretically somebody having access to the internet. And the next reason in different varies is that in different reports point to kinds of access, and some sources take into account all the kinds of access, some of them without mobile, some of them only broadband. So that's the discrepancy, that's the misreading of the data. And even more important is subjective reasons, like inaccurate data counting, data processing. Even the regulators displayed the right figure of 19 million adult users older than 15, and that's by in mind, and they divided that by the adult population number of Ukraine, not adult population, but adult population. As a result, there's understanded figure of penetration. It's understood that ITU can't really sort these things out. They don't want to do so, and it's just for you to focus on the ITU data that the previous speaker referred to. And on every country, there's a footnote, and in every country, there's a spatial subscriber base, so a respondent base. In some, there's adults, and some from zero age, and some that's without mobile users. And Ukraine footnote says that the State Statistic Committee data, and pay attention that GOSTAT, the State Statistic Committee, counts households as subscribers. And we sent a letter to ITU, and there's no response. But hopefully ITU will in future use the professional data, and Ukraine will get the right position on internet penetration that it rightly occupies. Given that we got two professional research companies, one of them is ENOG customer, and if you drive them to the time base, they stack up accurately, and that's penetration of adult population over 15. And that's the end of Q2 2013.
And now that chart that has been presented, I won't speak alone about it. Just in my data research, 51% of the adult, 57% are those who have the potential, have the access to the computer at home, but they not use more than once a month. And following this indicator, you can compare the situation in Ukraine with the post-Soviet country. Ukraine considerably is behind the Baltics, where the penetration about 70%. Not much far from Azerbaijan, which have 55% of the penetration, and ahead of some countries such as Belarus, Georgia, some countries far ahead. Ukraine occupies of a medial country, and in Ukraine just is far beyond, together with post-Soviet countries, a social demographic structure. Well, today already people mentioned this digital gap. In my company, survey held from 2010 shows that this digital gap is reducing gradually. On the gender basis, we have a parity. Females are more number in Ukraine. These figures show the absolute equality on the gender signs, but on the just as for the age, they have more penetration in the central and eastern, less just at the south, and on this western south, the penetration is higher, and in several years the situation will, as for the age, according to just understandable reasons, among younger age categories, it is almost close to saturation. The penetration goes more actively with senior age population. In some period of time, this situation will be it just made equal. I would like also to speak about the urbanized areas. In this line, we have five curves. The lower curve, villages, and then there's a town with a population less than 100,000, then further 400, 500,000, 500,000, 1 million, and then over 1 million, 6 curves. It is clearly seen that lower curves have more steeper curves. That means that it grows. If we continue this trend for the 5 years ahead, we'll see the situation will be equal. The market, with its internal market mechanism, just correlates this digital inequality by types of urban areas, and no assistance in the person of authors of different ideas that have been invented 30 or 20 years ago about the foundations of universal service are not necessary to the market. The market copes with this task itself in a nice way. Also, that this foundation of universal service will be mentioned by other speakers today, but this chart shows that authors of this idea have no grounds for successes. This is the same trend, but in another construction of presentation. Just in the first 2 years, penetration into rural areas. To the right extreme column, the penetration growth in the million population cities for 2 years. With time passing, this trend will become flat. In this slide, by the types of access, the aggregate of this is less than 100%. It means that people use not only one computer, but several computers for the access and internet. This is the slide that wraps up what has been said about the penetration. The presentation is available on the website. So it is a column of data. The next research we do since 2010, well, that's the company in mind. That's website ratings. Over 2,000 websites are also available on the site right now. In orange color. That's middle level of the visit. That's the gray-colored day visitors. For Google, 70% of Ukrainian users at least once visited a Google site. 58 average daytime share. That's the monthly, daily share of users. Google was 58%. The analysis of the share shows that the most popular resources among Ukrainian users are search mechanisms with all services, including emails, Google, Yandex, Rambler, as well as social networks, Mail.ru, Odnoklassniki, Facebook, see, mostly Russian-speaking social networks. Entertainment websites such as YouTube, Megago, XUA, then they followed by the operator websites, Synoptics, Gizmodo, then the systems of online shops. I think that the structure approximately correlates the structure in other countries. What is the particularity of our regime? We present monthly this data on a website. One can trace the dynamics in recent 3 years. These data are based on the panel of 5,000 users. It's a physical purpose. Where home contracts were concluded because on their computers, special software was installed to trace it. Another survey we performed since 2011. Surveying the market of internet advertising, we see that there is an active growth of this market. With its start, Ukraine has been a bit late. It is actively catching up with European countries as per capita spending. The share of the direct sales shows a decreasing trend, means the market is being structured and the advertising agencies' share is growing in this market. Another slide. That's a slide from the previous year. The trend is approximately the Ukraine occupies the first, Russia and on the dynamics of advertising material placed on the internet. This slide shows where one can find this data. That's the site now. In red, you can see the button to press to get the data, and on that website, with an optimum access, you'll get this information which I presented to you. Thank you for attention.